Okay, I am here with the great and powerful, wonderful Mr. Tom Elpel. We only have a very short amount of time because we're just finished up with dinner and we are getting ready to do a blindfold drum stock, which, for those of you who have participated in them, know that they are a lot of fun. But yeah, I wanted to take advantage of while he was here to pick his brain a little bit, as his book. Hand me a copy.
Mm-hmm.
So this book right here, Botany in a Day. This is the first book that I recommend to all my new edible plant students. And Tom will explain why it's so important here in a minute. But it is, it should be in everybody's library if you ever want to get into foraging or anything like that. So, speaking of the book, tell me a little bit about how you became interested in botany and plants and nature connection, and ended up, now having a place in Wyoming. It's Wyoming, right?
Montana.
Montana. I always mess it up. How did all that come about?
Yeah. Well, first of all, Tom, I'd like to say just really grateful for this opportunity the last couple of days to hang out with you, get to know you a little bit better. It's been a lot of fun. And just it's such a wonderful place here. And I know my students are having a great time. And they've been studying plants, but also just really appreciating the exercises that you've done with them to kind of get us out of the head a little bit and more into a deeper intuitive experience here. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Oh, no worries. But yeah, so how did you get into botany? What got you excited? And what was your first
Sure.
introduction to?
My grandmother was just a huge influence for me with the plant identification, the herbalism, the edible plant. And I always had a pot of herbal tea on the stove, and when I was going out on walks, collecting different herbs for teas. And I learned many of my first plants from her. And as a kid, I had a lot of time to page through any flowers that she didn't know. I could page through her books of color photos, trying to make a match. That way, later moved to Montana for junior high and high school, and so it was like learning plants, or learning plant names at least, throughout my school years. And so that kind of, I was really fascinated by plants. And I guess the frustrations that I had, one was that I was intimidated by the technical keys, how to key out a plant. And so I had this idea in high school. It's like, I'm going to write this book called Botany in a Day. And I didn't know how I was going to write that. But the answer kind of came years later. Through when we had an herbal class there, and kind of learned this whole plant families concept that related plants have similar characteristics for identification, and they often have similar uses. So if you can recognize, there's in the mustard family, for example, there's 3,000 different species of mustard in the world, and they all have some similar flower characteristics. So if you can recognize a mustard here, you could recognize one on the East Coast or in Europe or Africa. And so these plants are all edible, and so just with a little bit of information, you get access to a huge number of plants. And so that kind of became the basis for Botany in a Day. So the thing is that when I was growing up, and your dad was writing his books, there's just a huge influence to really everybody in this field. So I was reading those as they came out, and I remember at one point thinking that it was so unfair that I didn't have a mentor like Stalking Wolf, to guide me. And then it was so it was kind of funny, just looking back years later, realizing that, okay, maybe my grandmother didn't know all the plants, but she fired up the passion that led to writing Botany in a Day. And it's like now it's used in universities, it's used in herbal schools, it's used by people all over the world for plant identification. And I've sold 150,000 copies so far. And so, it's like I realized, well, Stalking Wolf didn't really teach. It was like this coyote mentoring to, encourage those passions, and it's like I really did have that. In fact, my grandmother actually went with me to the tracker school when I was 17.
Nice.
Uh, and that makes it all the more, I don't know, satisfying, I guess. Just the fact that you know, so influenced by your father's work, and that you're now carrying on the family business, so to speak, with your own, taking it in your own new directions.
Yeah.
It's super cool to just connect with you and to be part of that continuing story.
Yeah. I really want to, for years there's been, a division between schools and organizations, and, oh, I learned with this guy and I learned with that guy. It doesn't matter. We're all humans. We're all obviously seeking out these skills to become more self-reliant, to grow closer to nature, to have a preparedness plan for if, the modern machine that everyone thinks runs flawlessly and we realize is actually held together by tape and bubble gum. If that were to ever fail, what next? And whether it's edible plants, foraging, learning how to make fire from bow drill kit, every new skill you learn that teaches you self-reliance, you are one step closer to true freedom. True freedom is the ability to walk into the woods with almost nothing and live. And it doesn't mean you have to do that. In fact, that's running away. I'd rather pass on the information. And as you have your organization. Tell us a little bit about some of the programs you do out there in Montana.
Sure, okay. So my school is called Green University. And so we have some longer programs, like 6 months or a year. A lot of our students come for a year or even longer. And so it's a residential, it's a live-in situation, essentially camping out in Montana through all 4 seasons. And so we have different skills classes throughout the year in terms of the hide tanning, the animal processing. We just did a bow making class. Nice. And right now, of course, we're on this 2-week botany and foraging intensive. So we're traveling. We move it to a different place every year. Mm-hmm. So this is our first time in Oregon, and we're transecting the state. And so that's what has brought us here.
Yeah. That's a good stop.
Yeah, and it's like with the plants. When I started, I think when anybody starts, you want to identify things. You want to put names on those. And one of the things that really working towards with my students is this kind of a deeper nature connection that instead of just like having knowledge up here about plants, it's like to experience the wilds more like a deer would, that the deer is going to know the taste, the smell, the texture of everything in its environment. And of course we want to do that with safety, so we put some side rails on that, and that's what's great about the plant family patterns, is that there's certain things like the parsleys, we're going to be very careful with those. We don't want to mess with things like water hemlock, poison hemlock, whereas other plant families we can really just explore anything. And so in really just a week, I've seen this class go from not really knowing much about plants to walking here today, and it's like we're getting to the point of, okay, see if you can find something that you don't know something about. And so really getting that deeper nature connection when And it's super powerful because this is something you can take it anywhere in the world.
Yep.
These same basic skills, and it's just so fun to to be, say, in Europe, and you come to a plant you've never seen before, and you go, I know this, I know what it's related to, I know what I can do with this plant, even though I don't know its name, and just to have that deep connection. It's like having friends. It's
Friends
like,
everywhere.
yeah, it's like a forest of friends wherever you go.
Yeah, and it's the same with the ancestral skills I teach that all our hunter-gatherer ancestors used. It's not about the name of the material you're using. It's taking a set of principles, applying them to that material, and you'll really quickly find out if this is a good wood for making a bow and arrow or not, or if it's a good wood for making a bow drill kit or basket,
Yeah.
or rope. And
Yeah.
providing people with that, just not being overwhelmed by thinking they have to learn the name of everything to efficiently practice them.
Yeah. My first book was Participating in Nature. It's basically a field guide to wilderness survival skills, and that was such a big part of it, is that instead of just like walking through the woods and not interacting with it, is that when you take something, take a tree, take the wood, you make a bow drill kit, that you're getting this deeper connection with that wood.
Yeah.
And so today I worked with some of the big leaf maple here on the property, made my first ever big leaf maple bow drill set, started a fire with it, and it's like, wow, now I have this deeper connection with this tree, and that's really exciting to me.
I was same thing when I moved here, because I was so used to, even though I had done it with maple back east, it was one I would generally seek something else out, poplar or something. But here it's actually, if you can find a big enough, dry enough piece, it's actually a fantastic bow drill kit. Well, folks, I think we're gonna get back.
One moment. Yep. Tom, like I said, I've really enjoyed being here, and I just wanted to gift you with a copy of my book, 5 Months on the Missouri River, Paddling a Dugout Canoe. I had just immersive experience with getting to know the Missouri River, and I hope you'll enjoy that.
Oh my God, this makes me jealous because I had access to a 42-inch diameter Doug fir that blew over, and my plan was to let it sit for 3 years and then cut it and then slowly start to coal burn and adds it out into a dugout, and now I don't have access to that tree anymore. And thank you so much.
That is a Douglas fir.
Yep, that's what it would have been. So nice, thank you for the gift. And I also I gave him a photo I shot of some oxalis with some water droplets on it.
Beautiful, thank you, Tom.
Thank you again for being here, and hopefully this is the first of many. I look forward to coming by your place on one of my teaching excursions.
That would be fantastic.
Right on.